the other thing that probably stands in my way the most is existential dread. Like, I've been talking to a couple of other friends my age about this, and realizing that, like, I'm very unlikely to get married and I'm not going to have children. And seeing my older friends who are now struggling with health issues and struggling with not being able to work, but not getting enough money from the government to survive, that really stresses me out. And fundamentally, that's still money, but it's like different money. It's resources in a very different way. Yeah, that sometimes makes me go, oh, I can't be doing activist work right now. I have to work, I put my nose to the grindstone and put money in my savings account so that I can survive when I'm older. But then that also kind of makes me want to invest more in my activism, because I want to help create solutions, not just for myself, but for everybody, on how to make that less of a problem, how to achieve universal basic income, how to make sure that everyone can be housed. So it's sort of a gamble. Like, is it better to like focus on myself and then be able to help others from a place of individual stability, or is it better to focus on the bigger picture and hope that trickles down to me in time?
That's a can of worms. I'll go into that briefly from my side of things, because I can definitely relate to that in a sense as well. Like, it has occurred to me that I am never going to be able to like retire the way that a lot of our kind of parents and grandparents did. And I have been able to save a bit of money, but it's not like, I keep thinking to myself, okay, if I suddenly lost my job, like, it wouldn't get me very far. And just trying to actively save towards this like future that I'm becoming less and less convinced is going to happen or even be possible. And it's making me think more and more like, okay, what could this money do for me or for others right now? Like, if I just expect that I'm not gonna, cruise to this comfy 60, 65-year-old, living at a cottage kind of year round or whatever, and like spending winters in Florida, like, that's not gonna happen for me. And so like, there's even things like there's just a lot of different things that I've been kind of like, I'd kind of like that, or I'd kind of like to do that, or I'd like to kind of help with that. But like, if I won the lottery, like, there's a million GoFundMes out there that I would love to just be like, here, because there's so many people that need help really badly. And I wish that I could do more for a lot of them. And like, kind of what you were saying, like, in a way, this show is one way for me to try to put something positive and helpful and valuable out into the world, where I can't necessarily, because like, I haven't had the like physical energy in a couple of years now. Like, I used to go to protests when I could, and my body just can't really handle it as much anymore. And that makes me kind of sad, because I know how important and valuable it is to have physical presence for certain things, and to be willing to put yourself at risk like that. And, I guess technically now I'm more able to financially help, but even there I have my limits. And so it's just, it can feel really frustrating to feel like I just can't even possibly hope to do as much as I want to do. And this retirement fantasy is just that. It's a fantasy for a lot of us now. And owning a home, or like you said, getting married and having kids, like, it's like, is that even going to happen for me now? And I don't know. And so I've been having this kind of ongoing debate, and I still am, of like, what am I going to do? Like, am I just going to have to give it a couple more years and then decide, okay, forget even like working towards that retirement, just like, maybe plan for the next like 10 years to really do what you can. And then after that, hopefully things will work out. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking a lot. Like, it's weird because I'm 37, and so a lot of the people my age are like not quite at that point yet. So they're just like, oh, well, I still have enough time to have a career, whatever. And I'm just like looking at the writing on the wall and I'm like, careers don't exist anymore. Like there's no stability at all. And I think it's only going to get more unstable, which I'm able to adjust for right now. And I've had a lot of different life experiences and I've been able to maneuver for now. But yeah, I'm also super aware that like if I need to be in assisted living in my 70s, I'm out of luck on that. There is that sense of like, oh, okay, so what can I do to plan for that? And like I keep coming back to that like queer fantasy of like, okay, co-ops, cooperative living, and there's this part of me that's like, oh, what's going to happen? Someone's going to run off with all the money. That's what always happens with these things. And so it's like, oh, trying to get other people around my age to like talk to me about like what are their plans. I mean, my parents kind of morbidly say like, oh well, like you'll get the house when we die and you can sell that. And I'm like, I don't know what that means though. Like I've never had assets like that before. I don't know how to manage them properly. It's sort of a very waspy thing to not discuss money. But when you're poor, you also have to discuss money. And so while my parents are more like middle class, I'm very working class. And so I'm like, we need to talk about these things. I need to know what I need to know so that I can plan, like, am I going to be able to buy some land in Montana to retire on as a elderly person, or is my retirement plan like do a bunch of heroin? Like, what am I going to be able to do? I don't know. And yeah, that is super stressful. So I think that's part of why I wear a lot of hats, because it means that I can make myself an asset to any sort of community situation. And I feel very confident in that. So like, I feel like whatever happens, I'm going to be able to slide in somewhere as a child care person or as somebody's carer or, as the demolition derby driver who like gets us through the Mad Max atmosphere, like something. I'll have something up my sleeve.
It's interesting to me, like people have asked me about this show and like what kind of things I've learned, and like so I'm also 37, and it's just striking me how we had very different upbringings and have a different very different life experiences, but I guess kind of some of the same core values, and we find ourselves at kind of a similar point and kind of thinking about the future in a similar way. And I don't know if that's like more of a generation thing or if that's just I don't know, but it's interesting to me.
Yeah, my housemate is a little bit younger than me, but is absolutely going through the same thing. And so I'm creating my my adventuring party right now. And like, okay, let's stick together. Like, let's try to commit to something and like start looking at what it would cost to buy land with a well, and like let's learn some carpentry skills so we can build a house and like figure out how to do this in a society that isn't really primed for us surviving. The dystopia is now, and so it feels comfortable. I'm inside a house. I have a roof over my head. I have power, but the dystopia is definitely still now. And I'm relatively lucky. More and more people are finding themselves unhoused and finding themselves living out of their car and still going to a 40-hour a week job, and that not being enough to survive on. Mm-hmm. The collapse of society is both something I'm terrified of and also like it can't come soon enough. Like, oh boy.
Yep. Well, to
on that tricky note,